What is going on, everybody? Quancredible here with Four Nights of Apocalypse, Chapter 35. And this chapter essentially going more or less how I said it was going to go in my last review. I will say there were a couple things in here that surprised me because Four Nights of Apocalypse just keeps bringing stuff back from Seven Deadly Sins, like from way in the beginning that I just have not thought about in like a million years. Like the goddess Amber, though, like who remembers that? Like if anybody remembered the goddess Amber, you're like a Seven Deadly Sins god. Like you have the best memory ever. Because when I seen it, I was like, this looks so familiar until I had to look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, this was the thing. So anyway, at the beginning of the chapter there is An. Look, I know I say her name weird, and I know I switch between An and Anne and Annie all the time. I switch between those three all the time just because my brain is just weird. So just bear with me when I say her name. So anyway, we have An running through the village, freaked out because she's essentially surrounded by a bunch of demons, and she remembers she still wants to be a holy knight and save her friends. It's like a big driving thing for her. So she stays and she's trying to find Percival, Donnie, and Nansen as she's like screaming out for them. Which she does eventually end up finding them. You know, Percival is being held by his friend, Don Chilamante, which is just so funny, just the overall sight of it, because she's freaked out, flailing around, and it's just like, it's one of those things where like, I'm pretty sure no one thought that any of these guys were like much stronger than regular demons outside of maybe Percival. Percival might be a bit stronger, but it's just funny to see how just like untrained she is, which makes me really excited for when they get to like Leonis, because she clearly would stand no chance against actual demons. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody thought she would, but it's always nice to see that reinforced. But basically, Donnie and Nansen's can't blame her for reacting the way she did, because I'm pretty sure most people would. But honestly, the big shocker to her is that Percival can talk with them, and he literally is just having a legitimate conversation with Don Chilamante. Just even the fact that his name is Don Chilamante is just funny to me, because I never even thought of red and gray demons having like personalities or free wills or anything like that. I kind of always just assume that they're mindless. And then the elder comes up, and he's not with Sin. Like, we don't get to see Sin at all in this chapter, which is very curious. I wonder if Sin gonna make like another last second appearance or something like that. But like, he came up, and this dude is huge. Like, I mean, like, like this dude's like Lieutenant Surge from Pokemon levels of huge. This dude is actually really tall. Like, I always knew he was like buff and big, but I didn't know how tall he was until really seeing him in this panel next to Nances and Donnie, and they come up to like not even his waist. Like, he is really tall. But he basically says that them destroying the idol has let the enemy intrude on them. The enemy referring to Ard. You know, Nancy thinks he's talking about them, but he's definitely talking about Ard. And it's funny because right here, Ard straight up says that he is a holy knight in King Arthur's service, and he's basically saying that all of the members of the demon clan that are present there are going to die. And it's just like, despite him saying all this, it feels like Annie still has like hope in Ard for some reason, which is kind of weird throughout this chapter, because after she sees everything he does, like, it almost feels like she still is like trying to reason with him. Basically, Ard has probably been trying to take out this village for a while now, just because, you know, Arthur's whole thing is getting rid of all the other races and from basically human supremacy. And basically we find out through the elder that all of these demons actually didn't even participate in that last holy war. They all just like fled and ran away and made their own village to try to live in like peace away from the war, which is, again, it's so funny because you don't really think about it in Seven Deadly Sins that probably not all the demons were on board with the war. You kind of only know about Meliodas and not even think about all of the smaller people way down. Even in the Cursed by Light movie, not for any big spoilers to anybody that hasn't seen it, but you know, we hear that there were characters such as Delilah, or Dolly, or however you want to say his name, was not interested in the war and didn't want to participate. So it's just interesting to see that this, you know, spans across even for the demons too. But Ard does not care. He's like, you guys are still demons and you guys are going to die anyway. So he pulls out Goddess Amber. And for those of you who don't remember, the Goddess Amber was that crystal that Veronica had way back in the first season of Seven Deadly Sins, and she sealed Meliodas in it, which is like so long ago. So anybody who remembered that, kudos to you, because your memory is much better than mine. But he uses that to seal like all of the demons in this area. The only thing that was very interesting to me was the elder didn't get sealed at all. And it's one of those things where, like, even though Nansen's assumed he was a human, I still kind of feel like he may be a demon, but just like a higher level demon. But like, he would probably have to be like a pretty high level demon to not be sealed in this thing, because this guy did say that the goddess Amber that he has is like can seal several more times than like a regular one could. So I'm assuming like he would have to be relatively strong to not get sealed up, because I mean that other one that Veronica had was able to seal like Meliodas, and like granted Meliodas was much weaker then than he is now, but Meliodas then was still like pretty darn strong. So like, but Meliodas was still pretty strong, and this one, being a stronger version of that old one, should be able to seal mostly any like relatively strong demons. Not anything crazy, but it should be able to do something, I guess is what I'm getting at. That was a little wordy, but it should be able to at least do something. And another thing that was interesting about what it didn't take up is, I know a lot of people were speculating that Percival could be part demon, which is why he was able to speak the demon language, but Percival does not get sucked up by this thing at all. So I mean, I never thought Percival was a demon. I know there's people that are theorizing it, but I just don't really think that there's much weight to it outside of him speaking a language, which I feel like is more like related to his abilities and not necessarily him being a demon. That's just me. And another thing that came to me about the goddess Amber is that Meliodas' original power was sealed in a large chunk of goddess Amber. So if by any chance this one that Ard has is much more powerful than that giant one, then there would be no reason why this elder would be that much like there's no reason why that elder would be that powerful, like as you know Meliodas when he got his original power back. So like if he was a demon, if there were any demons in this area and that goddess Amber is stronger than that one, they should have all been sucked up. So honestly, I'm not really too for sure, or I'm not really on board with the elder or Percival being a demon, seeing as they should not be that powerful if that goddess Amber is as powerful or stronger than the one that had Meliodas' original power sealed in it. So after that, Don Chilamonte, who was holding Percival, he obviously got sucked up too. So Percival falls down, and Percival's asking where everybody went, and Ard is like, it's all right, the demon who's going to crush you is gone. But he actually gets a good look of Percival because his helmet falls off, and he recognizes Percival as one of the people in the prophecy that was going to destroy the world, and he notices the dragon relief on his back. So it's just really already not looking too good for Percival. And not to mention, Percival even says that, Don Chilamonte was his friend and that all the other ones were good too. So like saying that a demon was his friend and that they were good to one of Arthur's holy knights, like Ard attacks Percival immediately. Like it was like he just couldn't believe what he had just heard, and he even goes on to say like the prophecy was absolutely right. Like he believes that Percival will destroy the world just for associating with the demon clan, which makes me more so think that the prophecy isn't 100% straightforward. Like I don't really think that Percival is going to destroy the world. I just think it's their interpretation of it. Like maybe the Percival is going to destroy the world that Arthur has envisioned. That's kind of what I think that they mean, like, or maybe like destroy that world. But during their clash, this is kind of what I was referring to earlier, where I was talking about how Annie and Nanson's kind of have their trust in Ard still to this moment, because they're like trying to reason with him, saying that how Percival is a treasured companion, and that how like one of his fellow knights, being Ironside, was torturing them, and that Percival saved them, so he's a hero. And like I get it that this is their second encounter with a Chaos Knight, but I kind of feel like after you encounter someone as bad as Ironside, you should kind of see them all in the same light. But to the other side of what I was just saying, like just to play devil's advocate with myself, I guess, Annie idolizes holy knights of all kinds. She never specified what kind of holy knight she idolized. She just idolized holy knights in general. So she probably does feel like a holy knight should just want to uphold what is the true justice or what is the true right. So in her defense, her trying to reason with him makes sense. But to me, I was just like, bro, you should know that all these guys are bad news after running into Ironside, or at least be kind of iffy on all of them after running into Ironside. But of course, to no one's surprise, Ard does not care and is not listening, and Percival just wants the crystal back so he can free everybody. But then Ard calls in his dog, which is Ceranos, and I know that that's like a mythological animal, but I'm not really for sure too much about like the lore on a Ceranos or what exactly it is. So, and then the chapter ends right there. I was kind of like wanting like another page or another panel, but I guess this is like a perfect place to stop right before like the real fight gets involved. So from here, I'm not really for sure what could potentially happen as far as where the fight will progress next chapter. It's one of those things where overall we know what's going to happen at the very end. Like we know Percival's probably more than likely going to beat this guy and get the crystal back and free everybody. But as to how he does that is a little weird, because I'm not for sure how he's going to be able to handle this giant animal. I doubt like the giant super slap he used on the wolf is going to work again, but who knows, maybe a hero type magic infused slap might work, or maybe the elder. Like, I want to see this elder do something, because I feel like he has a lot more about him, seeing as he potentially isn't a demon and maybe something else. There's definitely a lot of interesting things about the village elder that I really want to see him in the next chapter doing some stuff. So I'm going to have to wait and see for that one. But overall, I thought the chapter was honestly really good. Like, it was a solid transitionary chapter, moving from, you know, where we were into more of the transition into the fight. So next chapter we'll get like a nice battle chapter, or maybe even, actually I just thought about this, it'll probably be like split up to where Annie, Donnie, and Nansons will probably take on this giant dog, and Percival and the Elder will probably take on R. That's probably the way it'll split up, and then maybe Sin might pop in later and save Annie, Donnie, and Nansen. Seeing as like Annie is the really only combat-oriented one, but Annie's combat skills are more so oriented for like person to person, not really giant monster. And Nanson's might be able to sedate it, but that thing might be a little bit too big, and Donnie's really just strictly support, so they might struggle with this thing, and Sin might have to come in and save them. And then that would mean that we can get Percival and the Elder versus Ard, and we can really get to see what both of them can kind of do, and where Percival is now with his sword. So that's kind of what I'm really hoping for next chapter. But yeah, essentially that is what my money is on. But yeah, all in all, like I said, this is a really good chapter. I honestly give it like a 7. It was solid. It wasn't like the greatest chapter ever. Maybe even a 6.5, but like a strong 6.5. I know people hear 6.5, like, oh my gosh, you thought it was bad. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 6 out of 10 for me is not bad. It's actually pretty decent. So that is my rating for the chapter review. Let me know how you guys felt about the chapter and what you guys think is going on for the next chapter. Do you think that the Elder is actually a demon, or do you think he's a human, or do you think he could potentially be like another race, maybe a giant? I mean, he is effing huge, so he could be a giant. And what about the thing with Percival being a half demon or not? Are you one of the people that is on board for the theory of Percival being a half demon, or did you never really give that any attention at all? I'm just kind of curious to know what you guys are thinking on those two routes. Aside from that, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. You guys are amazing. Please try to remember that. Make sure you guys like the videos or subscribe to the channel for more upcoming content. Have a fun stream for you guys, for everybody tomorrow, so make sure you show up for that. Other than that, I have nothing else for you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all in my next video.